Hi everyone, my name is Chris. I'm doing a further explanation of some kicking methods and how to train kicking methods to get good, fast, snap kicks, just like I just did. One thing that a lot of people have, from my experience training people, especially a lot of martial arts people, is quad dominance and hip flexor dominance. What that means is your body is neurally, your brain thinks that the way it should do squats, a lot of kicking motions, a lot of jumping motions, is the quads and the hip flexors should be the one gripping and doing most of the work. And it's not the case. The glutes, your hamstrings, calves, what's called the posterior chain, should be doing most of the work. So how do you know if you're quad dominant? Number one, you might have really developed quads, especially in weightlifting, or just quads are developed. But when you look at your hamstrings, you've got massive quads here, but your hamstrings are just flat. There's nothing there, hardly anything. I'll do an exercise in a second. Another way is to determine if you a quad dominance is that you just don't feel your glutes firing at all. Another one is when you do exercise, especially squats, deep stance work in martial arts, that the next day, are you sore in your glutes or not? And usually people are sore in their quads. It just shows the body just wants to use quads to do all this work. And it's good to a certain point. At a certain point you want to increase your training, you start getting knee issues because the quads just are excessively being overloaded. So what I want you to do here is make your feet about hip width, your feet turned out about 10 degrees. And I want you to have a screwing sensation in your feet. So if I were to move my feet, I'm like screwing them like this. So there's this screwing sensation through the whole leg. So it activates a reflex going through here up into the glute up here. So I'm using maybe 10% strength doing this. It's not too much, but it's there. Then from here, I squeeze my butt as hard as I can. So I've got that screwing sensation, squeeze my butt. My legs are straight, and it's like you're trying to crack a walnut. So you make it really, really tight. See if you make it tighter and tighter. You can hit here to give more sensory stimulation to the area, so the brain knows what we want to fire. Then let it go. Give this a whack again. So even when you stop hitting yourself, you'll still feel where you just hit yourself. So that's the sensory input going to the brain. Then the brain can better find the muscle, especially if you're someone who can't feel your glutes very well. So we twist out again, squeeze, and this is where you know, can your body engage the glutes or not? So some people get freaked out, they just cannot feel their glutes engaging in this at all, the simplest activity. So it means you need to work on your glute activation. So we hold here for about 10 seconds again. And we're going to do one more. So give it a bit of a whack again, slap, anything to work on the neural drive. Then one more, feet screw open, squeeze. So just doing this, for me, usually the next day, my glutes are really sore from doing this. And I use it as a primer for any kicking or kung fu work that I do after having knee problems and ITB problems in the past. Then from here I relax. So you're getting down onto the floor, your feet pulled in a fair way so they're not out here. The further your feet are out from your backside, the more your hamstrings get involved. So we don't want to get them too involved just yet. So I've got my knees, my feet, knees and hips in the same line. So I'm not like this or one knee out or whatever. I'm just there. And a real key thing here is that I peel the pelvis off the floor, so I'm actually rolling the pelvis this way. And you pop your hands on your butt, and I want you to feel like you're squeezing your butt to do this. So I'm rolling the pelvis, squeezing the butt. Squeeze those muscles to push up, so you get this thrust here, and the head relaxed. So I'm just going to flat. I'm not going to extra. This is my lower back getting involved too. So just flat here, squeeze here. Then one vertebra at a time. We'll roll back down, right to the end again. So here, I'll roll the pelvis, squeeze the butt, and I'm peeling off one vertebra at a time, as if my body was a sticker, and I'm unsticking the sticker. Then one vertebra back down again at a time, like I'm sticking the sticker very carefully back down. I'm really engaging here. Squeezing, cross your arms in front of your body. So this here's easier. Your lats are helping to stabilize. Here it's can't stabilize as much, so it has to use the glutes more. And I want you to, this time when you're pushing your hips up, think about pressing your feet into the ground. So you peel that off, press your feet into the ground. That has a reflexive pattern that gets the glutes more involved. So another way you can know if you're quad dominant is when you do this, are you feeling mainly the quads working? That's the body going, how do we do this? Oh, we do the quads, that's what we always do. So we're trying to activate here, let your quads relax as much as you can. Some people's hamstrings cramp up when they do this. That just shows how weak the hamstring is. They're all things to eradicate. So I want you to do 3 sets of that. Some people find doing 10 very hard, aiming to build up to 20, 3 sets of 20. I'll get you to do one more. So this is working the rest of the posterior chain, so that's your glutes and hemis. So you start off the same place. So we do everything the same. Roll the pelvis, squeeze, roll back down. Then we step out about the length of your own foot, and your feet stay straight. The feet often want to do this because the lateral hamstring wants to get involved. So we want both hemis to get involved. Peel the pelvis first, so always pelvis first. Peel, squeeze the butt. Same deal, 1 vertebra at a time. Then I step out about the same length again. So now as I go further, I start to feel this more on my hamstrings now too, but the glute always first. So we peel here, squeeze the butt. The hamstring just becomes involved as needed. Out again. And for a lot of people, this is where you need to stop. So we peel the pelvis, push up. So that's 3 steps out. We'll do 3 steps back in. Peel the pelvis, squeeze the butt. Feet staying straight up. I'm going a little bit faster than what you need to, just to get through this clip. Then we're back to where we started, so we do that again. And what I just did was 3 steps out, 3 steps back in. That's considered 1 rep. So we do at least 6. We'll do another one here. I'm going to go all the way out. So we go from here again. That's 1. So next step out. Next step out. So this is 4 for me here. So my hamstrings are feeling this a lot now, but I'm still making sure glutes work. So my legs aren't locked out, they're a little bit off lock. Hips first, squeeze, push up. This is a good strength exercise for the glutes. Roll back down and we come back in again. Okay, so I've just done 2 reps, so we want to do 6. I want you to do 3 lots of 6. Next one. So you're lifting your knee to parallel with the floor. So there's 5 hip flexors. The psoas muscle coming off all the lumbar vertebra, down into deep onto the femur, onto the lesser trochanter just here. Its role is to stabilize the core when you move and make bends this way as well. Other one's the iliacus muscle, which comes on the inside ball of your hip onto the same point. Its main role is to lift your leg or to roll your hip, and your body just lives like this. It's a very common postural position for people. Also the rectus femoris muscle going up through here, sartorius going through here, and the TFL muscle just here. This is a bad problem for a lot of people, especially if you're quad dominant and hip flexor dominant. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to get you to bend, so have your feet together. The right foot opens out about 45 degrees or so. Bend the knee, bend the hip. So I've just bent like this. I haven't done this. So I've actually sat here like I'm sitting on an invisible stool. The pelvis has a little bit of a tuck in it, just a little bit. So I'm definitely not like this. So the pelvis tucks under that way. And I feel the weight go through my whole foot. So definitely not just in the ball of the foot, the whole foot. So I've got that. Then from here I lift my leg to parallel with the floor. Probably face this way. As I do that, I haven't lost my back position. I haven't gone yoink and lost this, and I haven't gone like this. Really important, there's just this straight axis through the body. So I get to level with the floor, then I aim to lift this higher, and I just pump this from parallel to as high as what you can without changing this here. So I'm not sacrificing height for the sake of losing my back or the body doing this kind of motion. You do this till you fatigue out, and it doesn't take long. So I want you to do 2 sets of that. We'll do the other leg now. So I'm going to have the foot together, open, bend the knee, bend the hips. I'm sitting in the hip here. Feel the pressure through the leg. To get this understanding better, Tai Chi and standing meditation is a really good way to do this. I lift here. Make sure the back stays the same position. You can point your toe or pull it up. I'll point it for now. Parallel, and I go up a bit higher. So lifting higher than parallel, make sure that the iliacus and the hip flexor, the psoas in particular, is getting the activation. Psoas is generally weak for people. It feels tight, but it's tight because it's weak. I want to make this strong. Okay, so we do 2 sets of that. The last one, everything's the same what we just did. You can balance yourself on a finger or two if you find the balance is an issue. So if you do this, your body doesn't get a chance to practice the balance through the whole system. If we do this, it has a chance to practice the balance. You can do a whole hand there. As you get better, release one finger at a time until there's just that finger touch. And you can take it off. How's the balance going? Until you just don't need it anymore. So from here, I lift up, everything the same as what we just did. Lift up. We make a circle with the knee, about the size of a dinner plate. So you go up as high as you can. It's not a real big, so I'm not making this as big as what my flexibility is. It's about the size of a dinner plate. Aim for 8 circles and the other way. And this really strengthens your hips like crazy and gets the body training stability in the whole leg and the back. So I'll do the other side. So I'll sink here first, keep that alignment. Central axis, like there's a balloon drawing me up. So I'm not doing this when I lift my leg, it's just straight. Parallel, and I lift. So this series of exercises link onto a clip that I did a few days ago, showing the stretch kicking from Chinese martial arts and the kicking routine that I'll gradually go through as well. The other way. So 2 sets of 8 is good. If you've gotten this far, it can be enough. I'll give one bonus one. So we're sinking again, the same thing, that central axis, sitting in the hip is a bit tucked. Lift this to as high as you comfortably can, then straighten this out. So you're actually using contraction in your thigh to make this exercise. You may find because you're flexibility in your hamstring, ideally for kicking Chinese martial arts in particular, you need to be able to stand here 90 degrees without doing all this sort of stuff. Need that amount of flexibility. So for me, that's no problem. You may find that you only have the flexibility to do this, that's fine. So your knees lifting to the height when your foot's come out. This is a good stretch in the hamstring, for example. The knee stays there. And I want you to do 1 set, as many as you can. So when I was training this 25 years ago, when I was training for my black belt in Taekwondo, I would do 30 each leg every day as part of my training. Have a great time training.